Are you going to answer the question?
You're going to go and spin and spin and spin because you can't engage with the fact that
You're pattering.
You're
pattering.
That Trump was trying to get Pence. What was Trump trying to get Pence to do?
You are pattering.
What was Trump trying to get Pence to do?
You are pattering. Is Trump a fascist? I know it sounds a bit generic, but this is the big talking point that kind of persisted for the past 10 years. Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. He's authoritarian. He's far right. He's fascistic, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know who wants to start off first, but Luke, is he a fascist?
Yeah, we can debate that particular label. I've noticed when I've watched past debates among MAGA folks, the benefit, or at least what they seem to thrive off of, is getting real into the weeds on a particular semantic debate. That's less relevant to me than going through the specifics of why I might call him that. But let's not get so focused on the label, but instead whether or not we find moral, whether or not we find.
No, let's get focused on the label. So listen, here's why.
Because you can't defend.
Well, first
finish
of all,
off my point though. You can't defend.
Luke.
Well, hold up. I'm going to finish this. You can't defend what he does. So then you try to distract from that with just really abstract
from your
label
lies.
discussions.
Yeah, from your lies.
What he's done or lies?
So you can't.
No. So first of all, hang on,
did,
Luke. Semantics are super important to a debate for a reason. It's so that we have clarity in what we're actually talking about. So when you go, Trump's a fascist, yeah, it's very important that you clarify exactly what that means, why it means that, what the historic standard is that you're providing against
that. I'm saying that debate is an interesting one. I've had it a bunch of times. Less relevant than whether or not you can defend the things he did factually, not the labels, the facts of what he did.
Why are you calling him a fascist then, Luke? If you're not prepared to defend it.
Tim brought that up. I'm interested in.
Well, it's so
you call him that, Luke. Why do you call him that unless you can defend it?
He is called in the media a fascist over and over and over again for 10 years.
And
he calls him that.
My question is, most importantly, then we can get to that. Can you defend the things that we point to as a threat to democracy, as anti-democratic, whatever label you use?
Yeah.
I just don't care about getting that bogged
Can you defend that
down.
he's a fascist or not, Luke?
I absolutely have had that discussion a bunch of times.
That's not what I asked you. Can you repeat my question? I asked you, can you defend that he's a fascist?
We would point out things that we might describe as authoritarian or fascistic, even if you don't agree with a particular label. And that's what he's saying we want to talk about. So, for example, did he plot to overturn the 2020 election? Did he resist the peaceful transfer of power? Does he command a cult of personality? These are factual questions.
Does he threaten the media? This is not. I'm not going to make a whataboutism. I'm going to say, okay, let's start from that presumption that would make Trump a fascist. That would also make Obama or Biden or Kamala much the same.
Which we can discuss, which is false.
What you just described as Donald Trump would apply to them in much the same way.
Fraudulent states of
when have they ever resisted the peaceful transfer of power or plotted to overturn an election?
I believe this was the first election in 52 years. The Democratic Party has not challenged the election.
No, you're talking about the thing that is within congressional rules, which is you can object to the account. That's different than assembling from different states people who aren't the lawful electors and then trying to get them counted by your vice president as the real one.
Right.
That's completely different.
But that is also a procedure.
So one is a you can't just get random people
to
sign fake forms saying they're the
real electors. They're not fake forms.
They were.
They're not fake forms.
Do you know why the people were
prosecuted? What do you think we mean by fake forms?
States?
We obviously it's not an invisible
piece. Define what a fake form is.
We don't mean by an invisible piece of paper. It was a fraudulent document.
Wait, that's semantics, Tim. Yeah. Like I said, very important to debates.
Because you can't
we don't want to spend 45 minutes on what's a fake form.
Right, the issue here is we're talking about a play upon precedent with what Donald Trump did, and the basis for what Donald Trump did and his lawyers in 2021 was built upon what happened in the election between Nixon and Kennedy, when Hawaii sent a non-certified slate. Would you call that fake as well?
No, in that case, this was before the certification had happened. The state sent two slates.
Incorrect.
In these cases, there were certifications by each state and then verified by the governor, then sent to to Washington, and those were the ones Trump wanted to get counted.
Well,
it did not represent the lawful outcome of the elections in those states. Y'all agree with that?
Agree with you about what?
That's what Trump was trying to do, getting electors that weren't the ones lawfully certified by the states to get counted?
No.
Okay.
What do you mean?
Cool. Then.
Wait, what was he doing?
So we'll pull this up. Hang on.
Okay.
One step at a time.
So in Hawaii, it just disappeared on me. Why does it do that? And I'm using Wikipedia, which I'm not a big fan of because it is oversimplified and often wrong. But it says that Hawaii official results showed Nixon winning by a small margin. Hawaii's 3 electoral votes were cast for Nixon. Acting Governor James Keelio has certified the Republican electors, and they cast Hawaii's 3 electors for Nixon. However, clear discrepancies existed, blah, blah, blah. The court challenge was still ongoing at the time of the electoral count's safe harbor deadline, but Democratic electors still convened on the constitutionally mandated date of December 19th and cast their votes for Kennedy. Would you consider those to be illegitimate votes because it had already been certified for the Republican?
And then
Can we keep reading?
Continue.
The recount completed before Christmas resulted in Kennedy being declared the winner by 115 votes. On December 30th, the circuit court ruled that Hawaii's 3 electoral votes should go to Kennedy. It was decided that a new certificate was necessary with only 2 days remaining before Congress convened to count and certify the Electoral College votes. A letter to Congress saying a certificate was on the way was rushed out by registered airmail. Both Democratic and Republican electoral votes from Hawaii were presented for counting on January 6th, and Vice President Nixon, who presided over the certification, graciously said, without the intent of establishing a precedent, and requested unanimous consent that Democratic votes for Kennedy be counted.
Right.
So the clarification here, let's make sure it's very clear.
Sure.
The Democratic votes were never certified. They were intending to certify, but because the deadline was approaching, they submitted false documents, as you described it, before certification was done.
No, because the circuit court ruled that the electoral vote should go to Kennedy.
Hold on. I got to stop you. The circuit court has nothing to do with the convening of Democrats to file false papers. Did the Democrats convene without a court order and sign documents that were not real?
Was the president trying to get the ones that didn't?
Let's answer the question.
This is the question. Because we're talking about Donald Trump's actions.
Right, so we're starting with precedent.
We're talking about Donald Trump's actions.
I asked you a question and you changed the subject.
Did the sitting president at the time try to get, after the court cases had been resolved, try to get the Democratic
we have to start from the
electors counted? They didn't.
Let's start here. Did the Democrats...
None of y'all are even engaging with that fact.
Are you going to answer the question or
You're going to go and spin and spin and spin because you can't engage with the fact that you do.
You're pattering.
You know
you're pattering.
That Trump was trying to get Pence. What was Trump trying to get Pence to do?
You are pattering.
What was Trump trying to get Pence to do?
You are pattering.
Can
we stop and go back to the debate?
Keep repeating that.
Sure.
This is the debate.
So
what did the president of the United States do
you're
at the time?
You're just pattering. All right, I'm going to say it again. We are reading a specific passage on what Hawaii did, and we are at a specific point in the logical question. Hawaii Democrats were not certified. They filled out paperwork. Pause. The courts had not approved anything.
At that
were
point,
those documents, yes or no, real or fake?
At that point in time, the recount hadn't even concluded.
Yes or no, were the documents real or fake?
When the Trump electors met, Georgia had already counted its ballots. I'm explaining to you the
I am not asking you about
You're
Trump.
correct. If those forms had then been asserted as the lawful ones during the counting process, that would be fraudulent, yes, but they weren't.
So they submitted documents that were unapproved, not certified to the federal government.
Which ones ended up being the ones that the federal government was going to certify?
Why is this so hard?
Oh my gosh!
Why is the reason that it seems to be
I'll lay it out
logically. You're doing an hour
with y'all.
You see, this is the thing. You guys are trying to present some sophistry as to your argument.
No, you can't engage with what Trump did. That's exactly what you're doing.
I'm going to make my point.
You can't engage with what Trump did.
I'll make my point. Stop pattering.
And then will you let us make our points?
So absolutely. Though the problem is I'm asking about Hawaii and you keep changing the subject to Trump. So let's go through Hawaii. The Democrats had no right, by your logic, to fill out this paperwork and submit it to the federal government as the certified slate of electors. Only after the fact did the court make a decision. Now let's go to 2020. If there is pending court decisions, and there were, Republicans doing the same thing Democrats did.
No, you're wrong. The circuit court decided that a new certificate was necessary.
After the fact.
Before Congress convened.
Yes, but after they had already submitted the documents. This is why I'm asking you, when you said they were false documents, I didn't say anything else. What makes them false? It's the same as Hawaii. If you want to make the argument that Democrats did the same thing in 1960, I will agree with you.
But we're not making that argument because that's not what they did.
This is the point. In 1960, while there was still a recount going on and ongoing court cases, and it was so narrow they really didn't know which way it was going to go. Then they didn't even submit those or try to get them counted. The sitting president at the time until it was determined Trump's case, he got all 7 states after this whole process had been concluded. It wasn't close enough for the recount to flip it. The recounts had concluded, and he was trying to get not let's have 2 standing by because we don't know how this recount's going to go, but from 7 states that we know the outcome of, but I'm making false claims of fraud on them. I'm going to get Pence to keep me as president by accepting fake electors. Tim, for a second, because we're supposed to be debating them, I think, could they also try to defend this stance?
Yeah, because you're comparing an apples and oranges thing as far as I'm concerned. That was
silly.
If a court decided in one of the 5 or 7 states that Trump tried to peddle the false elector scheme, that if a court contested the Democratic slate of electors, then I think you would have an apples to apples comparison. But that's not what happened. Yeah. In none of the 7 states.
And it wasn't close enough to where they didn't know which way it was going to go.
Right, there was no actual ambiguity.
Yeah. Andrew, anything? Myron?
Well, what's the argument here? Is it fascism, or because you guys went into a whole other
one of the
tangent?
key
Because you guys went. I don't know if you guys. It started with fascism, but we went into Kennedy election in the 1960s.
I'll explain. One of the key tenets of, again, I know you'll get really triggered, so I'm trying to stay away from that particular term, but we can say fascism, authoritarianism,
Fascism is based. I don't know what the problem is.
anti-democracy.
It's pretty fucking base. I don't know what the issue is, baby.
Is that legitimate or a joke? Because we can go into that. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we can go.
Now something you want to talk about fascism.
One of the key tenets is rejecting democratic principles and the democratic process.
According to who?
According to every single fascism scholar ever and the definition.
Okay.
Do you mean according to who? Like what determines the democratic processes?
No, I'm asking according to who.
Yeah, sure, read it.
Yeah, go ahead. So far right authoritative. No. Pull up Giovanni Gentile. This would be the person that you guys would like to use.
You see?
As an authority, yeah.
The audience
Where did we
can watch.
cite
They're terrified.
Gentile? I thought it was Gentile. When did we cite him?
I'm sorry. Is reading a Wikipedia article proof of your position?
No. Getting into a hyper specific definitional discussion. I don't care what you call it. Bad. Let's say bad. Bad is what I think Trump did. And that's what I'm trying to get you to see, not the definition, because I know you feel way more comfortable spinning around and reading about whoever. Instead, we can just talk about, regardless of the definition, is it good or bad to reject democratic results? Is it good or bad to threaten the media based on my principles, which value democratic?
What do you mean threaten the media?
So Trump has repeatedly called for like investigations into reporters, into media outlets. He believes that the business licenses of like ABC and CBS, MSNBC, he says, should be pulled. I mean, you don't see these sorts of threats from the Democratic Party.
Okay, so let's get into them.
And even if you did.
Has Trump pulled anybody's license ever as president? Has he actually sent any government officials to do any investigations at any major
So you agree, though,
Stop.
him saying it's bad.
Stop, bro. I just let you go through your whole stupid spiel.
You keep not
Has
making
Trump
sense, though.
actually
Kind of boring.
done that?
Are threats not bad?
And first of all, hyperbole isn't a threat. That's one.
Trump
And
said
hang on.
CBS should be
And
taken off the air, should they?
what I want to see, so as Spurgley over here keeps on losing his mind, he doesn't want to get into hyper-specifics.
Spurgley?
He doesn't want to get into hyper-specific semantics because that would cause what we'd like to call clarification. That way we're not talking past each other.
I don't think you're
right?
hearing what I'm saying.
Yeah, dude, I just gave you your whole spiel. So anyway, the reason I want to get specific about this, about what fascism is, about whether or not Trump is actually a fascist, whether or not Trump actually enacted fascist policy, all of these things is because you guys, you can't sit on your shows and say, this guy's a fascist, he's an authoritarian, he's a dictator, he's a threat to democracy, and then give us nothing. Just like, oh, he used some hyperbole about the media.
We just talked about examples.
He tried to stay in office despite losing an election.
Yeah, okay, hang on. We'll get to that stuff in a second. Right now, we're talking about something else. We're talking about the media. Calm down. Calm down, Spurgley.
That's what's so annoying
Calm down,
about these conversations.
Spurgley.
But Andrew, that's just a misrepresentation of our position. You say that we give you nothing. We're giving you specific things that he did, which
not with no. You made this claim that
Where?
Trump has done bad things to the media. He wants to pull their license. He wants to take something away
He's
from
threatened to do those things.
Where has he done them?
So do you think that it's acceptable unless he follows through on it?
Yeah, I think that hyperbole is fine. I think that presidents use hyperbole all the time. I think that liberals use hyperbole. So, for instance, I'm going to give you an example. When you say Trump's a fascist, I think that's hyperbole.
Would you?
Because I don't think you actually think he's a fascist. I think that you just think fascism means authoritarianism. You don't even know what the fuck it is. You don't care about it. Hang on. So I think you're actually using hyperbole when you're talking about fascism in general. So when Trump uses it, when Trump uses hyperbole, when Trump is speaking this way, Trump bad. When you're speaking this way, that's fine.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon. So subscribe and come hang out.